Welcome to the Big Bad Marketing Podcast. I'm Janae.
And I am Brooke, and we are two entrepreneurs jumping headfirst into building a business.
We're marketers and we're content creators at heart. And in this podcast, we help small business owners learn how to play big with their marketing efforts, even on a small business budget.
So if you are ready to make big bad moves in your professional life, this podcast is for you. Welcome to episode 22, Pricing Products and Services. We are going to talk about everything you need to consider as you determine the right price. Many small business owners struggle with pricing because beyond just covering the cost to produce the thing, what's the strategy there, right? Like, I know that I want to make money. I know that my business needs to be sustainable. I hope to even have some profit, but how do I do that? And in this market environment where people are looking for just discounted and the lowest price, and it feels like we're in this constant race to the bottom, like, how does one survive?
Well, I will tell you how they don't survive, how not to price, which is based on vibes and feel and just being like,
Vibe-based pricing?
yeah, maybe you should add a section about this. Vibe-based pricing is not going to get you the profit and the revenue that you're looking for. And sadly, I think it's a way that a lot of people sort of inadvertently find themselves in business, right? Like you've been doing landscaping services for a couple of your neighbors, and then suddenly more people ask you, and you're like, great, I have a business. It's working. And that's great. But if you just like, you eyeball their lawn and you're like, it's $100, right? Like you haven't factored in any of the costs, expenses, time, other considerations to help you make sure that that price is going to get you the profit that you want. So then you can maybe hire a crew to help you with that and minimize your time investment, whatever your goals are, right? So vibes are a no-no when it comes to pricing.
So you're saying that I'm gonna need to do some math?
Yes, yes. This episode will have a little bit of mathing. That's true.
Yeah, kind of daunting, kind of scary, but
It doesn't
completely,
have to be.
it doesn't have to be.
And I think that's where we're like, we're trying to make it more reachable and level with you of like, we're just like two ladies hanging around. Like we like baking and we like doing crafts and like we're not math superstars. I mean, Brooke, I'm not trying to speak on your behalf because you are way more math superstar than me, but whoever you are, like you can figure these things out. And in big bad marketing, we rely a lot on reverse engineering things like all the time, like figuring out what's the goal, and then you use that to create the steps to get to the goal, right? So the same is going to apply here. Like we figure out what is the profit margin that we want to be at and the revenue we want to be earning, and we reverse engineer to understand how much we need to charge for each service that we sign. So the same is for you. It's just a bit of math. It's going to be
Yeah,
okay.
it's gonna be fine. And I will put a plug here. I feel some type of way about AI when it comes to content creation, but I love Chat GPT for this type of like business math problem. I I would absolutely begin with the end in mind. So say I am starting a landscape business. I would like to make $500 a month from my business. How do I need to price? What are my margins? Like, toss in some, I need to buy a lawnmower. The lawnmower that I like costs $250. Like, throw in everything that you know to be true, and then let the AI guide you with a loose kind of idea of where you might land. Like, if nothing else, don't go with vibe-based pricing. Like, at least use a little bit of actual numbers going into it. But I will say ChatGPT is fairly effective at things like this if you can provide the right input. So just a quick plug for like, if you are going to try to go completely blind, like at least do the bare minimum, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion.
But also don't sue us. Like, don't trust AI with all your final numbers. Do some
Yeah.
checks.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
not financial advisors. We're not accounting experts. We're not suggesting we know how you should calculate your profit margins, but these tools exist and a lot of them are free. Use them to your advantage.
Yes, this podcast is purely for educational purposes. So everything that we are going to say today is just our experience and things we know
And vibes.
and
What we talk
vibes.
about is a little bit vibes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the psychology of pricing. So when we think about the numbers and the costs of, or let's say the prices that we're selling our product or service for, it's not just a number, right? There's a strategy behind it. And it also greatly impacts the way that customers are perceiving what you're selling. So if you are, we talked about in a previous episode, and even just now you're mentioning, if you're racing to the bottom to sell yours at the lowest price compared with other market businesses, right? You're just devaluing yourself and you're making yourself look sort of like the cheap economic version. And that might be the strategy you choose, and that's fine, but you have to choose it mindfully. Make that as a concerted choice versus doing it by accident and kind of winding up like the low price point. Because your brand is going to have a much better perception if you're like, this is the price of our product, and that's what it is, and not we're comparing ourselves to every other brand in the industry, so you think about us differently.
Yeah, I think I would always prefer to kind of be in the middle of the road or even on the premium end of the spectrum. I know that I do this when I shop for things. So if I'm looking on Amazon for, say, a pair of pajamas, this is something I bought in the past couple months. There are, when I see some that are like 6.99, 7.99 for a pajama set, in my head, I'm like, that can't be right. That's probably going to fall apart in like 2.4 seconds. So let me look at the 14.99 to 19.99 price point because in my head, regardless, they might be the exact same pajamas. But in my mind, I'm like, I want them to last a little bit longer. And maybe I'll pay even up to like $30, but
Mm-hmm.
do not try to sell me a $30 plus pair of pajamas because I ain't buying.
Yeah, well, okay, but look at that. They've positioned those 14 to 19, they've positioned themselves right in the middle of the market, which is your area, right? Like you're weeding out the bottom tier and the extra luxury price point. Who's to say whether or not those actually deliver better quality or value? But those other higher brands are just saying, like, hey, we're a premium brand based on only the price. Just the price is making you think that it, or making the customer perceive that it's of higher value in some way, even if it doesn't actually, even if, like you said, it's exactly the same product. So
Yeah.
price impacts psychology and perception, and it's huge.
Absolutely. And this is why it's so critical to know this when you're doing pricing for your business. Because if you are in a saturated market, which you probably are in at this point, right? Like, let's just be honest with ourselves. Very few people are legitimately inventing the wheel, reinventing the wheel for business. Like, you might be selling t-shirts alongside 50 other people that sell t-shirts. So we'll talk about it in the strategy. Like, competition is one thing and wanting to sort of play in that market, but be aware that if you choose to go lower, you may be losing potential customers for psychological reasons that are outside of your control.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. On the point of psychology, let's talk through a few ways. Like we'll outline how to price your products and different ways you can do that. But let's talk through a few ways that are easy wins when you go to price your thing. So if you're not listening to anything we say and you're literally pricing off vibes, you can still use a few tactics to make your offer more compelling and showcase your product or service with a slightly elevated win, let's say.
Yeah. So I think one of the good ways to do that is if you have more than one option. So, say like a tiered service where you offer different things, always having three options. And then you can use your lowest and highest price points to kind of anchor someone's thinking and kind of guide them into the middle option to improve that perceived affordability.
Mm-hmm. So, and this applies in products too, because I'm thinking of like if you sell like artisanal shirts, right? Like you can show that the lowest, you can still model the three of them together. And the most expensive one, like the most hand embroidered or whatever it is, like that one has a much higher price point. And then the one in the middle, it seems more affordable because you're comparing it to this much higher one. And then the low tier one is like really on the lower end, minimal handmade updates, whatever it is. Like you're really literally guiding the viewer's eyes to the center to choose this one that's right in the middle of the road.
Yep, we love middle of the road. It seems like fair. Yeah,
Fair. We like fair
I like
and
fair.
reasonable.
Yeah.
Okay, and then another option here is, and this is something I would imagine almost everyone knows inherently without actually knowing this, is price your things at like 99 cents. If the or $99 at the end of the price point, and that is like just shying away from hitting the new mark. So in the case of like this t-shirts, let's say that the price is 39.99. That's basically $40, but that 1 cent less makes it seem like it's still part of the $30 category. And then you're like, oh yeah, I can buy that. And you can play around with that middle number too, because like aside from the 99 or 97 cents, if you bring it to like 36.99, someone might be less likely to buy it than if you put it at like a 32.99. Then they're thinking it's closer to the 20s versus the 40s. So these sort of rounding errors, as you can call them in accounting, those can really impact whether or not someone buys. And I would encourage everyone to sort of A/B test this when you do price your products or services.
Yeah, I love A/B testing for this, but it is crazy because in someone's brain, they're like, well, I can't afford $200, but I can afford 199. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, that's $1, but okay, heard.
Right, right. Keep your penny. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about now the different ways that you can price something. So incredibly common is going to be cost plus based pricing. So, cost plus literally means I am going to look at the cost it takes me to produce this thing. Plus, I need to make a little bit of profit and a little bit of margins so that I can continue to have my business. So, this is sort of the bare bones, the lowest price possible to still turn a profit. And when we think about examples of that, like when you go to the supermarket, they're doing cost plus pricing. They're not trying to totally gouge their customers. It's just they have to pay a certain price to stock their shelves, but they also need to make enough money to stay in business. It's also super common with retail. So when you are selling a product, you create that t-shirt. That t-shirt costs $7 to make. You want to make $3 profit on it, so you price it at $9.99 instead of $10, obviously.
Okay, it's still giving a little bit of vibes pricing, like you really haven't thought about it, except for being like, I do want to charge more than it costs me to make. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then another thing I'm thinking here is like you're mentioning supermarket, like they're not selling you value behind the olive oil and the bread. They're just like, here's the stuff, take it or leave it. Like we are not trying to convince you whether or not you need this or make you feel more value from the product. Just like these are the goods and these are how much they cost. Thank you.
Yep.
And then you're left to your own devices to make a choice.
Yes, absolutely. And then, so go ahead and take us into value-based pricing. How does value-based pricing differ from cost plus?
Okay, so in this case, you are pricing the product or service based on the value it's going to deliver to your customer, not the cost of it. So that same olive oil, let's carry on with the supermarket example, bring it into a gourmet mercado, right? Like, and they're selling you this like rich European experience when you're in the store, and they're going for this other approach, which is like, this is handmade olive oil from Italy, and you are just going to be taken back to Italy when you enjoy it. And they're selling you a totally different thing. It's not just like take this thing and use it in a utilitarian way. It's like you are going to get a lot from this experience. So they're marking that price up way, way up. And you're paying for the value that it's delivering to your life. And then you're more compelled to enjoy it and use it in a different kind of way than when it's just like, here it is on the shelf, grab it and go.
Yeah, and it's important to note that when you do value-based pricing, you really got to know your customer, right? You got to know your audience and you've got to understand, okay, is this a product or service that someone is willing to pay for? Like, are they going to see the value in this? And at my gourmet market, am I going to be able to charge a particular price because of the perceived value of the things that are happening there? And on the service side, I think it's almost a little bit easier on the service side to increase the value of your services,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you get into like really unique skill sets. So there was a time when and I say there was a time because of like Chat GPT, but like a developer, a really experienced developer would cost an arm and a leg to hire them to do something because they have this unique experience, right? You see this in the art world. There's a reason why that piece of art hanging in the store downtown Charleston cost $25,000 and the painting that I did yesterday is, four. So it's like the
Oh.
perceived value of these things. I didn't actually make any art yesterday, but I do try to make hand turkeys every Thanksgiving. So
Oh.
if anybody's interested in a hand turkey, I do know how to make those.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, the art is such a great example because art is so subjective. And so I can sort of assign the price point I want to my thing. And I'm just like, it costs this because that's what I'm saying it costs. And the value is there because I'm saying there's value to it. So it's a great example, and it's a really interesting one where I think it's a little bit more concrete and tangible when you talk about a developer with very specific skills, or like let's say a specialist surgeon is going to be able to, like, quite literally through their expertise and experience, charge more for providing a service of doing a surgery versus sort of like a rookie from who just graduated from their residency and is like new in a in a hospital, right? Like these are different kinds of things, and obviously that's not how, at least in the United States, it doesn't work like that. But the point is, the value is something that you get to assign to it. And the more that you can go back and listen to our episode on compelling offers, like the more that you can showcase the value and create a compelling offer, the more people are going to buy into the fact that you are delivering value.
Yeah.
Um,
You
and
know,
I wanted to, oh,
I
go
was
ahead.
going to say, a great way to increase your value or your perceived value is by building a brand, right?
Oh,
Because at
yes.
that point, you say you're creating the whole I don't want to say facade, but it is kind of a facade behind your product. And if you sell t-shirts, but you have a brand of these t-shirts are
Givenchy.
worn by, yeah, like celebrities and the one percenters, and these are the only people that are wearing these t-shirts, then all of a sudden your maybe $20 t-shirt now costs $500 because of the brand and the aura and the essence around that and what people see. Like luxury goods market in general is a
Oh,
great
yeah,
indicator of
another good
this.
example. Yes.
Yeah.
I think if you're at that point, then I would say it's okay to use vibes-based pricing. No, but I do want to mention, I'm glad you're bringing up the luxury, like high-end designer goods, because especially when we compare that to the cost model of like a regular retail store, there's another huge factor here, which has to do with marketing, but in a different way, which is going to be merchandising. And if you think of like a Louis Vuitton store, right? Like you go in there, there's only a few items on display. The displays are immaculate and amazing. And there's like, it's like an art gallery with like lighting on one piece. And there's this sense of value in the way that they're showcasing the products. Where if you go to a store like TJ Maxx or Ross, all those purses are like hanging in racks. There's tons of them. They don't match. They're in bins. You have to dig through them. There's like a price tag hanging off of it. The whole experience is different. And it doesn't contribute to the sense of like, there's a lot of value in this versus when you go in, there's like a personalized attendant who comes over to work with you and they're dressed in all black and they're wearing gloves. Like there's a whole different experience going on. And even if you're not selling a product, you can start thinking about creating value for what you sell in the same kind of way. Like, how can you add that white glove touch to whatever it is that you're selling so that it seems more valuable?
Absolutely. And think about just the customer experience, right? Say you're a gym owner. How can you take that customer experience up a notch to prove the value? So every time somebody walks in your gym, you greet them by name. You ask them how they're doing. You offer cold towels at the end of your classes. What are the small things that you can do that are going to increase the perceived value of
Mm-hmm.
your product or service. And it's applicable across the board. Just think about the customer experience and what you could do to just dial it up a notch and then reflect that in your pricing and charge a slightly higher price point for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think cost-based pricing tends to be like the default when you're selling products, especially if you're a new business owner. And like with the t-shirt example, you're like, oh, I print these for $7. So I could probably just like tack on three and make some profit. And you're not really sure how to do the markup, but you're also not showcasing value. And the point I want to get across is like sell them the artisan olive oil in Italy experience, right? Sell them the vacation they're going on, not the olive oil, not the flight on the airline, right? Like this is you have the opportunity to sort of rewrite the narrative of the experience they're having, and this is the place to do it.
Yeah, love that.
Okay, so as we talk through types of pricing models, right? Like you have cost and value based. And then let's talk through tiered pricing and packages. But I want to caveat with these are not mutually exclusive. So these are all just different ways to consider pricing. And then you're going to go through and pick the different pieces of each one that makes sense for your business.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to take us through some tiered pricing?
Sure. So good, better, and best. So this is kind of that three-tier model that we had. And sometimes you see this on I see this a lot with software subscription services where you have sort of your base tier and then they go through and they tell you, here's what you're going to get. And then the next two, there's stuff that's grayed out or there's things that you'll get if you upgrade and then you get again if you upgrade. And then it's always kind of like, hey, this one's good. This is improved, but like this is our best one. And that allows you to capture different segments because you can capture the people that are like, I want the best one. You can capture those middle ground people and you can capture the people who are not willing to invest as much, but still want to use the solution that you provide. Then another one is going to be sort of that Netflixy model where you have your basic tier that is now an ads tier, and then you can go with your ad-free upgraded subscription model. So again, there's a clear show of value and why they want you to pay more so that you can, binge for 8 hours without seeing any ads come through. So they are very upfront about the value that you're getting when you upgrade. And then the last one is going to be bundling. So bundling products or the ability to customize. So bundling, whenever I hear bundling, I can't help think of what is the bundle your home and auto. It was we saw it all the
Yes, yes, with flow.
with Flow. I can't think of anything besides bundling your home and auto insurance, but it's a great example,
It's
right?
perfect.
Of how they do their pricing. It's like when you bundle your home and auto, you will save money by doing it together.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
works.
Now, I guess what I'm curious about as we're talking through that example is like, are they actually giving you a discount? Because the idea they're presenting is like bundle and save.
Yeah.
So the idea is like if you went out and got those things separately, you would be paying a la carte prices and then it would be higher. But because you're getting them together, they're somehow rewarding you with a lower price because it's part of their package.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's probably like a 10% discount or something. Like there's definitely something to it because they have to prove the savings or they wouldn't be able to make that claim, especially on television. They're like
Mm,
super they really watch that closely. But another example that I can think of recently is like T-Mobile, where they're like, oh, okay, get a phone and then we'll pay for your Netflix. Like you get Netflix for free. So I am one of those customers that I mean, I didn't go with T-Mobile for that reason, but if I were switching phone providers, I might be like, oh, I can get rid of my Netflix subscription. Perfect. That works out.
hmm
Um, yeah.
But what I love about that is it adds value versus as we talked about in a different episode, like undercutting the value. So instead of being like, if you sign with us, we're going to give you a discount. They're like, if you sign with us, we're going to give you more than what you got when you thought you were getting. Like we're going to add value to your experience.
Yeah. And I would always pick that value add over the discount. And I know we'll talk about discounts in a little bit because we got some feels on discounts. All right. How
Don't do
about
it.
how about some subscription models and retainers?
Yes. So as I said, you'll ultimately pick and choose different pieces of each of these and see how they fit for you. It's not like a pick one and that's all you're doing. And so for Big Bad Marketing, we really lean into subscription models and tiered pricing packages. So you can pick the package that makes sense for you based on all of the value that we showed you in our value-based pricing. And then you subscribe so that you're set up every month so that your customer continues to pay you. And what we like about this is that it leads you to win. You get your customers and you keep them around. You don't just like give them the whole enchilada in one and then they're done and they can kind of go do their own thing. Granted, this makes sense for our business model and what we do. It might not make sense for yours, but there's a lot of really creative ways to introduce this kind of system so you get recurring revenue through a subscription, even if you're selling products. Like a really good way to go about this is getting people to sign up for a subscription box. So you mail them out a few items in a box of whatever it is that your product is, send them a few every month or every quarter, and they sign up and they pay you. And that makes it so your money is like you can count on your money and it's reliable and expected income versus a maybe more variable approach. If you don't have any subscribed payments, you're just kind of like whatever comes in this month is this month, and whatever comes in next month is next month. And you have no idea and you can't predict any of your earnings. So this helps you kind of get out of that almost like scarcity situation, and you'll have a better sense of what you're going to earn. Another way you can do it with products and services is going to be a loyalty program. So every time someone buys something, they get like an added bonus. But so you set them up on a buy this every month and we'll keep you on like a retainer system. And then you get this too, or you get an added extra feature because you're signed up for our loyalty program. A funny one I have with that is we have like electric toothbrushes here, and they mail us a new toothbrush head every month, which is great because I would never replace my toothbrush that frequently if they weren't just like on it for me. So love this service. But I'm signed up every month. It's still a product, so I'm paying for the product, but I don't have to think about it. It's on autopilot and it just comes in. And you can also do a membership program. So they pay you, even if you sell a product, they pay you a small fee every month. Costco comes to mind for this. They pay a small you pay one annual fee and then you get access to lower priced products all the time, or they can become a member of your site and then they have access to buy your merchandise at either a different price point, or they always get this added bonus every time they make a purchase.
Yeah, I love all of those options. And like you said, you can do more than one. So as you were talking, you have the toothbrush one. I subscribe to my deodorant. So they
Oh
send
yeah.
me a new deodorant on a regular schedule. And I'm also in their loyalty program. So every like fifth one, they're like, you have a $10 reward because you accumulated X number of points. So it's like I stick around because it's super easy. Well, one, I love the product. And it always comes back to make the product good before you worry about pricing it. Anyway, I like the product. They make it easy because they have my card on file. They send me an email and say, "Hey, your renewal's coming up." Great, thank you. And then they send me these loyalty rewards and I'm like, "Okay, great. Why would I do anything else?"
No, it's going to be a headache. So they're giving you value, is what it sounds like you're saying.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, so how would you structure some of these subscriptions or retainers if you are a services business?
Yeah, I think first thing, get really clear on what is included and why that's valuable for someone. It it can, especially over time, right? If you have a subscription service, the first month to 3 months, you might be like super clear on here's all the things that we're going to do. And once you get into months 4, 5, and 6, then you're sort of like, okay, what do we do now? So you kind of have to make sure that you have enough uh, service to continue to be valuable month over month and get really clear on what you're doing and why someone would sign up for it. I also think being more flexible on cancellations can really help with this and setting clear expectations up front about how long you expect someone to stay. So if you say we do a subscription model for a minimum of 6 months, then someone knows, okay, I'm going to be charged 6 times for this subscription, and here are all the things that I'm getting with it. But if you are really delivering value, it's likely going to keep people coming back and you're going to increase retention over time.
Keep your customers happy.
Oh, yeah. Yep. All right. How are we going to then price our products and services and remain competitive?
This is a great opportunity to go and listen to our competitive analysis episode. And we talk about how to understand where you are in your market compared with competitors. So the idea is to see other industry representatives who are like you, who are not like you. So you get a sense of what price points they're at. What are they charging? What are they offering in exchange for those rates? And you can make a good assessment of where you should be on that spectrum.
Yep. And decide whether you are going to try to be that budget friendly offering or if you want to be more on the premium end and then find that sweet spot that's between affordable and profitable, but always be sure that you choose profitability first. Otherwise, your business isn't going to survive.
Yeah, and this is a great opportunity again for that A/B testing. So try X price point, see if it works. If there's a key here, which is like if a lot of people start signing up, it's time to raise your rates, right? So pay attention to how it's working. And then once people sort of slow down on signing up, that's a good sign that this is a good price point. It's middle of the road. And then if there's no signups at all, you might be overpriced or pricing yourself too high. So sort of acknowledge all of the different points and see where it makes most sense for you to be.
Yeah, and I've asked small business owners before, the ones that we've worked with, and said, is anybody questioning your prices? If nobody has ever given a or a is it worth that? Or really, if nobody is second guessing anything and they're just saying like, oh, yep, 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 then maybe your prices aren't high enough and there's an opportunity to
Mm.
raise them. You
Oh,
should
yeah, I
get a
love that.
little bit of price resistance at some point, and that's how you know you're in the ballpark.
I like that. As soon as there's a little pushback, that's a good sign.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so how can you price things to make sure you are profiting on them? I think this is a really meaty and important piece of our discussion on pricing.
Yeah, so we did a prior episode on business math and calculating cost of goods sold and cost of services. And so go back and listen to that episode, figure out your cost of goods sold and cost of services, and then use that to understand what is your bare minimum price that you have to charge to cover the cost of producing your product or service. Then you can add in those other expenses like your time and overhead. And then you can look at different profit margins and say, okay, healthy profit margin is going to be somewhere between, 30 and 50%. What would it look like if I priced for a 30% margin? What would it look like if I priced for 50% or even 70%? Like, and then go back to the market, look at your competitors, look at the products that you're offering, and use some of these other kind of ideas to make sure that that price that you found could be sustainable in the market.
Okay, so I think it suffices to say this is very much not vibes. Like quite literally, the point here is you can use vibes to be like, I want to make 200% profit on each item. I can't guarantee the viability of something like that, but the idea is that go through, do the math and see what you need to charge per widget, per service in order to make that so that you are sure that you're covering the cost that it is to buy or create the item or the service. And then you're able to check like, what does it look like if we make a 30% margin? It costs $100 now. Okay. And then what if we want to make a 40% margin? Oh, it's $150, right? Like, and that way you can understand if we start charging $150, we're going to make a 40% margin. Then you use that number to understand are people actually going to buy it at $150? And you have more clarity, you've zoomed out, and you're making a data driven decision, not a vibes decision.
Yes, and you'll never put yourself into a position where you're not at least covering your costs because you know bare minimum where you need to meet. And this can be really super applicable if, say, you buy bulk inventory. So, say you have 100 widgets that you want to push, and you know that the cost to produce them was $500. Okay, then you can sell the first, 50 at a price point that lets you cover that 500, and then you can discount what remains. So let's talk a little
Oh,
bit about discounting, freebies, promotions, things that are going to alter your price in some way.
okay, so I'm from the camp of like almost never discount things. I like special promotions, and I think there's creative ways to do that. But I think I've said this before is like don't discount something just to get the sale. It's just like it's not going to help you. It undervalues you, and you're cutting into, as we just defined, sort of the numbers and the math that you did to know what price to charge.
Yeah, I want to caveat that real quick and just say if you're a brand new business, you might willingly undercut the price on a product or service in exchange for things like experience, testimonials, or other trade-offs that are going to help you down the road. But that needs to be an eyes wide open decision where you say, I am going to go personal train my first 5 clients for free for 2 weeks because I need to learn how to personal train. And this is the only way that
Hmm.
I can do it. And then you are going into it and making that trade off and saying, okay, but after those 2 weeks are up, this is going to be the price that I'm going to charge them ongoing. So that to me is sort of an acceptable time to discount or even give things away for free, but use that wisely.
Yes. But okay, I love this point here, which is giving things away for free. Yes, we talked about cute little add-ons, that belt, or other freebies that you can build more value into the sale you're making versus taking away. So you can throw in a bonus item like with the deodorant package or the toothbrush package. Those people should collaborate. Throw in a toothbrush, throw in a deodorant, and then I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to get this service too, right? Like there's great ways to do this or bundles. I'm thinking of like around the holidays, if you buy perfume instead of just selling you like $100 bottle of perfume, they don't discount it, but they do give you like a sample size and a little like a fluffy thing that goes with it and a like whatever it is to make it seem like you're getting more value out of this whole package and a bundle instead of just the thing and instead of taking off money.
Yeah. And so when we talk about promotions, I think there's sort of right and wrong ways to do promotion. Obviously, we've covered off the idea of, urgency and scarcity of like this sale ends at midnight, so act now. And there's a right way to do it, and there's a way to do it that can kind of feel a little bit cringe for people. But what are some of those other ways to do promotions in a good way?
Okay, I love get when they send me a coupon like thanks for buying. Here's a coupon. Come on back. Whether that's the next day or the next year, like we haven't seen you in a while, but we loved it when you were here with us. Here's something special just for you. Love that. It's like a reward for my loyalty. And then there's also the bundling. So if you buy a couple or if you buy multiples, we'll throw in XYZ as an added bonus.
Yep, love that. And then I think just generally being intentional and strategic with your promotions and not doing them out of desperation, where you're like,
Ugh.
I have now all this inventory and I need to just slash prices because nothing is
Because
moving.
I didn't math and I did it by
Right.
vibes before. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think in a future episode, I would love to talk about the pricing mistakes that kill sales, because there are definitely those, but not to put you on the spot or anything, but a couple hot takes about pricing. What are your thoughts on price transparency?
Oh, love this. I feel like this is a bonus round. What is that from Family Feud? Like
Oh, yeah.
minute madness. I like to see the price of things before I buy them. I don't love when it's like a secret or I have to dig to find it. I'm
Even
gonna
with
go with yay.
services?
Oh, especially with services. I get that sometimes as a service company ourselves, like we have to figure out what the price is before we can tell you this is a custom plan. Like we can't just be like, it's going to cost $10. But I do typically want to know what the price is going to be before I start or engage with a service. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think price transparency is one of those things that consumers are starting to expect. And when they don't see it, it sort of sets off alarm bells sometimes.
Yeah. Or just, no, I'm not interested in that. They don't even want to tell me what the price is.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, what about discounts or lowering rates for like family, friends, acquaintances? Where does that sort of line end? Should you do that?
Yeah, I mean, friends and family discount is like a super common one, and I'm, guilty of probably doing free things for my friends and family just because I love them and I want
Yeah.
to make them happy. I think I would draw the line at friends of friends, and then,
Okay.
at a certain point, you got to come up to full price, right?
Yeah, which is another one is like, is it okay to start with lower prices and build them up as you get better at what you're doing, for example?
Yeah, I think it kind of depends. And again, it's sort of that intentional and strategic approach. If you want to go in being like a loss leader to try and get market share, you can do that. But just keep in mind that then that price is going to kind of be the expectation as time goes on. And that can be a scary thing to deal with later down the road.
Okay, so don't do that. Don't price based off vibes. Do all the things we just said.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening. More episodes on pricing coming soon.